Minnesota has announced a new flag. That's right, the last one was considered racist, and so they're getting rid of it. The interesting thing, however, is that the new flag Minnesota is presenting and has chosen looks an awful lot like the flag of Jubaland in Somalia. The reason people are taking issue with this is, well, it may be coincidental. I don't necessarily think so, but it's not like it's the actual flag of Somalia as a country. It's one state in Somalia, so I don't know. This one's kind of weird. What I can say is I don't see reason to actually change the flag of Minnesota in the first place. And so when they decide to, and they make it look like a flag of Somalia, and it's the state with the largest Somali population, a lot of people are going to feel like you are being subverted, that your cultural values are being taken away from you by minority populations and non-American populations, and for no reason. I gotta be honest. The arguments to change the Minnesota flag, I believe, are fake, and I can explain it to you. First, let me show you the flags in question. So we have this tweet from, Oilfield Rando, new Minnesota flag versus Jubaland State of Somalia flag. Realize where we are. Okay, let's take a look. So here you can see you've got a star here. You've got this shape, and then white, green, and blue. Here's the flag of Jubaland in Somalia. You have a star, and you have green, blue, and white. It looks similar. But I gotta be honest, guys. It's similar in the sense that, like, the Russian flag and the French flags are similar. They're not identical. They don't use the exact same colors. But I do think it's fair to say, first, you don't need to change the flag at all. And second, why this design and why these colors? Serious question. Here's the argument. Here's what they're saying. They're saying that this portion of the flag is Minnesota. It's the shape. The star represents the North Star because it's the North Star state. And the colors are just because. Huh. I find this to be very weird. Very strange because what's up with these colors? Well, let's talk about the controversy. The Post-Millennial reports a commission established in Minnesota to redesign the state's flag settled upon a new design Friday afternoon. The flag features a shape that resembles the general outline of the state on the left with an 8-pointed star in it and a yet-to-be-decided on pattern on the right side. According to Star Tribune, the committee has until January 1st to make a final decision on whether the flag should have stripes or not, or what color the stripes shall be. So, okay. It may be that they choose red, white, and blue for this country. But I need to talk to you, my friends, about why the original flag was taken down and why it's racist. Oh boy. At a time, I did a segment on Saturday, a bonus segment, mind you, talking about how there's a movie that claims white people are the most dangerous animal, and it's so ludicrous and disgusting. They just mock white people in this film. It's racist. This is what people are experiencing in this country, and you know what the problem is? It is because people in this country have become complacent and allowed subversion. Now, before I get into all the details on the Minnesota flag to explain to you why I think it's racist when it's not, head over to thebestsongever.com, link in the description below. Download the song at your own price, 69 cents minimum, and you will get a coupon code for castbrew.com coffee at 35% off. That means, my friends, Cast Brew Coffee Club costs $40. You get 35% of that club forever if you spend 69 cents buying this song. Why? Well, we teamed up with the Daily Wire's Smokey Mike and the God King, Jeremy Boring and Michael Knowles, covered their version in a modern context because we are basically saying F you to the music industries, and we're trying to push back. The song is available on YouTube, Together Again, by Timcast Music. You can download the song. Downloading is the most important and powerful thing you can do because each download counts as 150 plays. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to build our own music industry. We're going to tell the woke institutions that are telling us we're not allowed, we're taking over. Daily Wire makes movies, they get insulted. We make music, we get insulted. They made this political. Our songs aren't political. This song's not even political. You want to play that game? We'll play that game. Thebestsongever.com if you want to support our work. But let's get back to the flag. Let's talk about this here flag, the Minnesota flag, and why they think it's so offensive. Well, here's the flag as of 1983. Now, I know it says 1983 because it's been updated several times. It shows a bunch of stars making basically a star pattern, a blue flag with flowers. There's a man farming, and he's looking at Native American. What is the point of this flag? It's just it. And it says L'Etoile du Nord. I think it says the Star of the North. Where's a stupid thing? And design and seal and symbolism and blah blah blah. Okay, where's it at? Here we go. L'Etoile du Nord. The French, the Star of the North. You know, they say it's offensive to Native Americans because the colonizers came and chased them out. Well, I don't know about Minnesota, but I do believe that Minnesota is look. The French were known for working with natives. It wasn't the same. The Spanish were the conquistadors. They were the ones who went and flushed everybody out. In the North, the French were like fur traders. So the French influence here, I don't think that Minnesota's history is as egregious as they're trying to make it out to be, but okay, fine. So this flag I just showed you was adopted August 2nd, 1983, but it's basically the same flag it's been since the beginning, since 1893, which shows basically the same thing. You got stars around a circle, L'Etoile du Nord, and you can see a Native American riding a horse, and there's a man looking at him farming, and boy, that guy's neck is going off in a weird direction. How about that? It was updated later, but it's basically the same. 1957 is when we got the closer to the modern version. What's offensive about it? What they're trying to argue is that because the Native American is on horseback, he's fleeing as the white man takes over. Yo, the purpose of the symbol was to represent the Native Americans that are a part of the state of Minnesota. These people are lying. What they're trying to do is destroy your culture, your history, and your values and replace it with something else. The North Star flag, 1989. And this is where we get the green, blue, and white. That's why I'm like, I know a lot of people are comparing this to the Jubaland flag, and it is similar, don't get me wrong. And it is the state with the largest Somali population. I think it's still only like 1%. I don't think that it's more coincidental than anything, but still, I'm not a fan. The North Star flag was created in 1989 by Lee Harold and Reverend William Becker. The flag has the colors of green representing forests, white representing winter, and blue representing water. A yellow star on the top left for the North Star, and the state's motto, L'Etoile du Nord. Harold presented the proposal to state legislatures in 89, supported by Republican Rep. Gil Gutnacht. Harold opposed the official state flag since its creation when he was in high school. In 95, he left his career as an accountant and opened a flag store. Okay. So it won an unofficial contest. Proposed in 89. The star, the blue, the white, and the green, they've been around for some time, well before the migration from Somalis. And this is the current iteration of it. The issue is, that's fine if you want to make all these arguments about, there were similar designs, not quite the same. But now you got a flag that looks like the Jubaland state of Somalia flag in a state with the largest Somali population. I just think a little tact can go a long way. And perhaps maybe they should have considered this. Well, here we go, my friends. Now they're going to try and get rid of the old state seal. Tribes criticize Minnesota's old state seal as racist. The new one includes Dakota language. Okay, I'm sorry, listen. Conquest happens. It does, for a variety of reasons. The only country in the world, well, that's actually not fair. I think Europe does this. No, I think it mostly is just the U.S. Yeah, basically ceding back all the land it once conquered. So be it, I guess. Look, it's not complete. I don't want to say that the U.S. is absolute, is just abject colonization and conquering. That's not fair. It's not true. A lot of the land that was settled was empty. Some people settled in areas where they conquered no one and nothing. Some people settled in areas where they conquered no one and nothing and were attacked by Native Americans and fought back and defended themselves. And absolutely, many of the colonists came and stole the land, massacred the natives, and it was bad. All that happened. A little bit more complex than people would say. But the idea, I was at the Dakota Access Pipeline protest, and I'm offended by the lies. Basically, you have people who were there saying, all this land is our sacred land. And I was like, oh, okay. So which part specifically? And they're like, that right there. They're building the pipeline there on our sacred land. And I was like, oh, well, that's kind of messed up. Like, what is sacred about it? Like, it's sacred. They're like, yes, but why? It's sacred. You're not telling me anything. That was it. And I'm like, okay, So they're building a pipeline. You don't want the pipeline there. I can respect that. If you want to argue there's spills because spills happen, I can respect that. But they were trying to use this leftist argument of the oppressed and the oppressor because they knew it played well with leftists. Not that they had any strong reason. They just wanted land. Yeah, I can respect that. Conquest is conquest. I got to tell you, I got to be honest. If you're going to come and figure out a way to conquer America and you're doing it, wow, okay. Well, guys, here's the argument that I see. No matter what you do, everything you have is going to be racist. No matter what you do, everything you have is going to be offensive to some group or some culture. That's it. The only thing you can do is either stand up for yourself or don't. And right now what's happening in this country is liberals are basically laying down, dropping to their knees and saying, we surrender. Okay, conservatives aren't, but this is what we're seeing now. Everything is racist. The Betsy Ross flag was deemed racist, and they stopped. Nike had a pair of shoes. They got rid of it because some basketball player complained. Who was it who complained? Was it a basketball player? No, maybe it was Kaepernick. I don't know. Yo, symbols of our history, they're not racist. It's fine. There are certainly some things where we can say, well, I don't know about this, but now we got a bigger story where they've just I think they're tearing down the Reconciliation Monument. I think it's in Virginia. This is a monument that was built to say we must come together and move forward after the Civil War. I'm telling you, they want civil war. You know, a lot of, Tim Pool said Civil War. They want to remove these ideas. Harriet Tubman famously said, I freed many slaves. I would have freed many more if only they knew they were slaves. What does that mean? There were people who were enslaved, but they did not know of the luxuries and the life you could have as a free man. And they were content to just stay where they are. And she wanted these people to find their freedom, but they didn't care. And that's true for so many people in so many different parts of the world. That's why the communists restrict information. That's why the Chinese Communist Party restricts information. If you don't know about it, you can't want it. It's a scary thing, isn't it? And that's where we're headed. When they take down the Reconciliation Monument, they're trying to say, we do not want you to remember reconciliation. That we said, guys, we're done fighting. Because they want the fighting again. So you got that movie coming out called Civil War. And I guess they released the actual map so people could understand it. And apparently it's 19, in this movie that's coming out, 19 states secede. And you have California and Texas are not unified. They're each individual republics unto themselves. The Western forces, for some reason, include Washington and Oregon. And Idaho and Wyoming, North South Dakota, Minnesota, I think Wisconsin. Then you have the Loyalist states. And then the Florida Alliance is basically the Old South. Texas to Florida, South and North Carolina are not involved. I wonder what their argument is as to how they've formed this, but sure. You basically have, well, people are arguing that the Western forces conquer Portland and Oregon, and that's actually not a bad point. Because Oregon and Washington. Portland and Seattle may be ultra-liberal, but most of the state geographically is not. And so you very well may have occupation. So some people are talking about the ruins of Portland after partisan fighting from leftists after they were conquered by the Western forces or whatever. I don't know. Nonetheless, it's not as crazy as we thought when we saw the trailer for the movie as to what they think would happen. Texas decides to become its own state. They've been before. The Republic of California, there are people in California who want to secede and make their own country already. So I would not be surprised to see this happen. The important thing to understand is that if civil war does come, this story about Minnesota's flag is a component of it. The lack of cultural cohesion, the lack of people coming together and respecting history, respecting their ancestors, and deciding that we will work together. These are people who are saying, bring in the migrants, we don't care. These are people who are saying, change the flag, who cares? Why? What's the point? And if they lose any kind of connection, those connections bond the American people together in shared histories and shared worldviews. When those bonds break, there's no reason for anyone to unify on anything. And all that matters now is resource wars. Right now, migrants are pouring into Chicago. And some crazy stuff's going on where they're saying they're going to seize buses or whatever. Okay, let me tell you what's going to happen. If too many non-citizens come into this country, they're ragging on Trump now because Trump said something about migrants. I don't know. I need to read the story. But here's the issue. Migrants come in, they do not share our cultural roots. This will create short-term demands. Americans with historical connections and traditional values will try and maintain them. People who are not from this country have nothing from this country to maintain. So if they build pocket communities like Somali communities or Honduran or whatever, these people will share cultural values with their home countries. When resources become scarce, fighting happens. Let me put it this way. You got two houses. You got a father and his son. They live next door. That is a familial bond. If there was a fire in one of the buildings, the other family member will help. If dad runs out of food, he goes to his son's house and says, hey, we're out of food. Now, let's say, dad dies and a new family moves into that house, complete strangers. Now they don't even talk. One day, one guy runs out of food, doesn't even ask. There's no bond there. Let's say, because it's not going to happen between neighbors and houses, but let's say something happens where they're isolated and these two houses get isolated and there's no water left. What happens? Look, man, if you've ever watched any post-apocalyptic movie, not all of them, but some of them will have this where it's like a random guy will walk up and just shoot another guy. And be like, I'm sorry, my daughter needs food. Doesn't know you, doesn't care about you, doesn't want to hurt you, but will take whatever you got to save his family. When two people live next to each other and share cultural and familial bonds, they help each other survive, and they will work together, and they care about each other. When it's two stranger groups from separate tribes, the likelihood of conflict is dramatically increased for obvious reasons. If it then comes to resource-based conflict, civil war indeed. If the values of Minnesota split dramatically from the values of New York, then you have the possibility of secession. Because Minnesota says, I have nothing in common with you. We don't fight for the same things. In fact, you fight against me. So think about what it means in terms of escalating civil war in this country when you have the left that fundamentally believes in weird ideas and the right who wants to maintain more traditional American views and classical liberalism. I got to tell you guys, Scott Adams has this tweet where he's like, I'm sorry they did this to you. They've brainwashed you. And yeah, I think that's true. The left is brainwashed. The right is mostly still traditional, which means they're not the brainwashed ones. That's just logic and math. But you've actually got leftists who believe 2 + 2 = 5. And they make psychotic arguments to justify it. I'm sorry, dude. If we're talking about people who want to sterilize children, they want abortion to the point of birth, there comes a point where there is no reconciliation. Then they remove that. So where does that bring us? I mean, I got to be honest. You get war when two groups of people fundamentally view life in completely different ways and don't even speak the same language. And this is the direction I fear that we are going in. You've got a weakening of cultural values in this country, which means states will find themselves with disparate worldviews amongst other states. There are a lot of people arguing, saying that federalism is the way to go. Maybe. But when Minnesota's worldview is that colonizers are racist and that their flag should resemble that of Somalia, and then you have another state that's, MAGA country. Yeah. When it comes down to who's got the oil, who's got the fuel, you're going to see conflict. And that's how it typically goes. A federal government will try to maintain cohesion, and most people, if their bellies are full, will be satisfied. They'll be satisfied. But what if we get a World War III? Ian and Crossan likes to point out on Timcast IRL, there will not be a civil war in this country. It would just be World War III. And I think he's mostly right. Depends. Because the U.S. is already involved in so many foreign wars. If civil war does happen here, other countries likely will make the moves they want to make. China for Taiwan. Russia will probably advance massively into the Donbass because Ukraine's going to be Russia's already got the land bridge, but I mean like actual fortification and strengthening. You'll probably see Israel fall into deep war. Venezuela will move on Guyana and probably many other countries because the U.S. will be unable to intervene the way they normally would. Now, I know the neocons and neolibs are arguing that's why we have the liberal economic order, whatever. My point is civil war becomes absolute chaos. How will civil war happen? When cultural cohesion breaks down, when leftist forces destroy our cultural traditions, claim everything we do is wrong and racist, and liberals agree with them. Then they all vote in that direction, and you will get people in this country who will reject that, stand up for what they believe in, and then you run into the next problem. Those who believe in this country in America will not back down, and those seeking to destroy it will not back down either. And then, that movie Civil War seems more and more plausible, doesn't it? I suppose y'all can just say it's my wacky idea, but I didn't make it up. And I see stuff like this, and I'm like, guys, whether or not they intentionally wanted to make the Minnesota flag look like the flag of Jubaland in Somalia, it's not the Somali flag. The Somali flag is just blue. Whether or not, the truth is not what matters. I care about truth. I think the truth matters tremendously. My point is, when it comes to conflict, perception is what matters. And if many people on the right perceive this as subversion, it's subversion. We'll see, though. I'll leave it there, everybody. Next segment is coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.